Want to hit that $1 million mark in your service business? I've worked with over 100 entrepreneurs in the past year alone, and I can tell you without a shred of doubt, there are 7 reasons that you are struggling to get to 7 figures or you're burning out while you are. Here's what they are. Hey, what's up? I'm Ray Green, former executive turned nomad entrepreneur and founder of Repeatable Revenue, which is a growth coaching company for service businesses. So I get an opportunity to work with a lot of founders, a lot of different types of entrepreneurs. And we've worked with over 100 the past year alone. And I can tell you that there are 7 things that I see contributing most to getting to the $1 million mark or keeping people from getting there. Here's what they are. The first reason that you're not hitting the 7 figures is you don't have a clear picture of what you're building. I talk to people and, on one day they're a consultant. On the next day, they're a coach. On the next day, they're a fractional executive. On the next day, they're an entrepreneur. They're trying to build an 8-figure company and build a team. And there's no sense of direction. There's no sense of clarity on what it is that I'm building. They're really just selling whatever the person in front of them wants. Okay, you want consulting services? I'm a consultant today. Yeah, you want coaching? I'm a coach today. And that's a completely reactive state of mind. Right? Like you're constantly changing based on what some external force or external market or somebody else wants, and you aren't proactively going anywhere. And there's a reason that be proactive, not reactive, was Stephen Covey's first habit of highly effective people, which if you haven't read, I recommend checking out. And it's because if you're in a constant state of reaction, right? If that's your state of mind, you're not really going towards a destination. Imagine trying to build your dream house without a clear vision of what it's supposed to look like, right? Like if you don't have a vision of what it's supposed to look like, you can't build a blueprint. If you can't build a blueprint, you can't get the foundation in place and you can't get everything else in place. That's what it's like when you're trying to build a business or drive revenue or build a service company when you don't have a vision of what it is that you're building. You don't have a clear picture of what you're building. You're building something reactively, and that is what's keeping you from hitting that 7-figure mark. When we work with clients, we have a practice that we call Vision Founder Fit. It's essentially identifying what it is that you want this business to deliver for you as a founder, and then reverse engineering that into what we need to do to get there. Dream house, blueprint. Now we've got a plan. Now we can execute. And that's what I recommend doing if you're struggling to get to 7 figures. The second reason you're not hitting 7 figures in your service business is you don't have a well-defined niche, meaning you don't have a clear market and a clear problem to solve. You're basically selling what people want. Some days it's this problem, some days it's this problem, and it's always different services to different people. And that's usually because when you started your service business, you thought, what can I do, right? Like, what am I good at? What are my strengths? What is my experience? And then you said, okay, how can I go market these things to as many companies as possible? And you went out and found as many people as you could that would hire you for your strengths and your experiences. That's an employee state of mind, right? Like that's what employees think. They think, what are my strengths? What are my experiences? How can I leverage that and sell that as a service? And you need part of that. But what you really need to do is think like an entrepreneur. You need to say, what is the problem that I solve? Right? And who is the market or what is the market that I solve it for, right? That is how employees are thinking. They are thinking, how can I build a process or a product or a solution to solve a specific problem for a specific market? When you do that, it makes everything else in the business easier, right? Like your marketing gets really clear because you know who you're marketing to, you know exactly what you're marketing. Your sales gets easier because you're selling a specific thing. You're not using sales calls as like a fishing expedition trying to figure out what are your problems and how can I find a way to say that I can solve them? And most importantly, once you market and sell those services, it's easier to deliver those services because you're consistently solving a similar problem for a similar market. So everything in the business basically gets easier when you define your niche. The third reason that you're not hitting 7 figures is you don't have a well-defined, unique selling proposition. And what I mean by that is you don't have a strategic, intentional way of standing out in a crowded market. Now, if you're selling services online, which I'm guessing you are, here's a word of warning for you. It's only going to get more competitive as time goes on. There are more and more people entering the space every single day. You've seen it in LinkedIn growth. You've seen it in growth on YouTube. You've seen it in growth of all the kinds of services that are around you. The number of consultants and solopreneurs and service providers and experts is just continuing to grow. And that means you have to step back and say, how am I going to stand out in this sea of sameness? What am I going to do to differentiate myself from everybody else that's here? For example, if you're a sales consultant, if your ideal client walked in the door and saw you in a room of 14 other sales consultants, so 15 of you are sitting in a room, how is your ideal client going to know beyond any stretch of the imagination that you are the best fit for him or her? Remember, nobody knows how good you really are or how smart you really are until after they hire you. Up to that point, you're only as good as your marketing. If you don't have a unique selling proposition and something that clearly makes you different and better than everybody else, your marketing is going to be bland. Reason number 4 that you're not hitting the 7-figure mark is the services you are selling are not scalable. Now, this comes in 2 forms usually. The first is you're offering bespoke services or custom services, and every new client that comes in the door, every person that you sell requires a new solution, a new service that requires some ramp up time. It requires you figuring the business out, the industry out, the problem out, the solution out. Then you've got to create that solution. Then you've got to deliver that hyper-specific customized thing. And that may be fun, but it's not scalable. Even worse, the work that you do doesn't help you get more work, because when you're delivering services, recommendations, referrals, and testimonials help add firepower to your marketing over time. If everything you do is different and everyone you work with is different and the services that you have aren't scalable, then the testimonials and the referrals and the recommendations that you get from people aren't going to be nearly as relevant. And the other way that I see this happen is selling time for money. And the thing about that is you are literally selling your most precious asset and the one thing that you cannot create more of as the primary product in your business. So it's pretty easy to see why that doesn't scale. You can't create any more time. All right. Now, the answer here is productizing services. It's taking your expertise or the solutions that you provide to the problems that you're solving for a specific market and creating a process around those, packaging those, and then delivering those in a way that's more scalable. That helps you scale up to 7 figures and beyond. The thing to remember is, even if you don't want to scale up to 8 figures, for example, productizing your services, because it makes it more efficient for you to deliver, is actually one of the things that helps you get back your time. So even if you just want to be a high 6-figure solopreneur or just hit 7 figures and be good with a lifestyle business, the productized services is what's going to help you protect your lifestyle and ensure that you don't burn out while delivering services. The 5th reason that you are not hitting 7 figures is you don't have a funnel. A funnel is one of the most powerful things that you can build to help you get to 7 figures. And what I mean by a funnel is a really good lead magnet, right? Like something that your audience wants and a reason for them to opt in to your marketing ecosystem and give you some information in exchange, a phone number, an email address, something like that. If you have a really good lead magnet, you're going to invite people into your marketing ecosystem and they're going to give you permission to continue to market to them. Once people opt in to your funnel, you're going to want a middle of funnel resource, something like a newsletter, a YouTube channel, a podcast, something that you can deliver, usually long form format, that helps you educate your audience and educate your prospects and also nurture them through the process. Not everybody that you meet or come across or engage with, even if they're your perfect ICP, is going to be ready to buy your services as soon as they meet you. Giving them an opportunity to opt in and then giving them an asset that they might actually want to check out on a consistent basis is a good way of continuing to build authority, educating them on what you do, of building your credibility, of building your trust, and increasing the surface area of luck, so to speak, of being in the right place at the right time and delivering a message that they go, you know what, today's the day. That's what a middle of funnel resource is going to do. Then at the bottom of the funnel, you're just going to want a simple process that once they decide that they're ready to buy something from you, or they're ready to explore buying something from you, that delivers them to your sales call as warmly as possible. Like a simple process, maybe a sequence, something that helps warm them up. So a good funnel is going to help you get to 7 figures because you're doing all of that and you're doing it at scale and asynchronously. So a good funnel is going to be a really powerful tool in helping you get to 7 figures because it builds up the number of people that you're talking to with a good lead magnet. It allows you to communicate with them at scale and asynchronously with a middle of funnel resource. And then when they're ready to explore buying something from you, you've got a good streamlined process to make sure they're as warm as possible on that sales call. The 6th reason that you're not getting to 7 figures is you're not getting enough eyeballs on your marketing stuff, or you're not getting enough leads, or you're not getting enough traffic to your funnel. Now, there are a million ways to drive traffic to a funnel, okay? And I'll give you 2 resources that you can check out to dive in further, because every one of those million reasons is probably a whole video in and of itself. But 2 things that you can check out to help expedite the process. One is $100 Million Leads by Alex Hormozi, really good book on driving more traffic and getting more eyeballs and more opportunities. The second is Traffic Secrets from Russell Brunson. Both of them will give you a good sense of how do I get traffic? How do I get more opportunities and more people into my ecosystem? But here's the thing that I see that keeps most people from getting to 7 figures, and it is they give up. They quit too quickly and don't give consistency and iteration and repetition, right? Like if you're doing content marketing and you're just posting 1 time a week and you post and pray and you sit there and wait for the traffic to come in, it's not going to help. right? Like you've got to go harvest that traffic. You've got to go squeeze the juice out of your content marketing. If you're doing cold email and you send out a couple hundred cold emails and go, all right, this doesn't work. I got low open rates and a couple people pissed off, so I'm going to quit and try something else. It's not going to work. If you do paid ads and throw a few $100 at it and say, okay, like this isn't going to work, or I'm kind of uncomfortable doing it, or whatever it is, it's not going to work. The thing about driving traffic, almost any tactic that you want to try can work. Content marketing can work. Automation can work. Paid ads can work. You name it. Like what you need to do is commit to one, stick to it, learn it, iterate, get better at it, and allow the marketing to have an exponential impact over time, not continue starting over at the hardest point. Driving traffic is an art and a science. Like I have yet to find a tactic that just, I push the button and it works. Not with automation, not with cold emails, not with outbound calls, not with paid ads, not with content marketing. They all take some time, but here's the upside. If you commit to a tactic or a strategy and then commit to figuring it out, it's going to work. Almost every one of the tactics and the strategies will work. And if you do that, you will be ahead of almost all your competitors because everybody else will quit. Everybody else will give up, or they'll keep starting over with a new tactic and a new strategy after the first round or the first sample didn't work. So if you stick with this, you're automatically ahead of most of your competitors. Now, if this is your primary constraint right now, if this is the main thing keeping you from getting to 7 figures, then make this your one and only focus, because this is the highest leverage thing that you can do if all the other pieces are put in place. Number 7, and the final reason that you're not hitting 7 figures, is you don't have a sales process. Like you don't have a process to run your sales calls. And every time you get on the call, you're winging it, right? Like you're relying on your expertise or your charisma to close deals. And you end up having sales calls that take forever. They run late. You have people that aren't showing up. You've got to send custom proposals after every one of these things that waste your time, and half of them don't get read. And you've got people that end up ghosting you. You're like, hey, that was a really good call. And they just fade out and they ghost you. They never become a client. And it's because they don't have a good process in place, a way to run these calls intentionally. And if that's you, you're in luck. I'm going to give you my process. It's the same one that I use in my own business. It's the same one that I've installed for my 8-figure coaching and consulting clients. One client, in fact, we increased revenue from $597,000 to $1.004 million in just 90 days. So the process, I assure you, absolutely works. I actually dropped a link to grab that whole playbook, and it walks you through all the steps and how to run your sales calls in the notes in the comments below. You can go ahead and grab that free. 100%. So there you have it. 7 reasons that you're not hitting 7 figures. I'm curious, did any of this resonate with you? Like, does one resonate more than another? Drop a comment below. I'd be curious what you think. And if you have any questions, I'll do my best to respond as quickly as possible. Adios.